pretty exciting one.
I guess we can sit down.
Thank you, JoAnn. As some of you know, God has blessed us with the opportunity to have an event at Statuary Hall in the capital of the United States of America, honoring our first president, George Washington, and his 225th inauguration. I want you to mark your calendars for January 30th, the last Thursday of this month, 11 a.m. to 12 noon on the Daystar television network, The Marcus and Joni Show. Dr. Jim Garlow from Skyline Church in San Diego, California, who is our program director these last 3 years, will kick off our Washington, A Man of Prayer 2014 event, an hour long. So I'm asking you to get your pastor to tune in, or your elder, or your head deacon to watch this show so that your church can sign up and host this simulcast. On Wednesday, May 7th, 2014, we will be honoring the 225th anniversary of the birth of the American Republic. It will be broadcast by Daystar Broadcasting globally. They have access to 700 million homes around the world. And for the first time in American history, thanks to WorldNet Daily Films, Joseph Farah, and the CBN News, we will have a web link for churches to download the link and watch the event in every time zone in their midweek service. This will be the first time we've ever had an event nationally of this kind to pray for our nation, being led by members of Congress from inside the capital of the United States of America. Pastors across the nation are believing that this is going to be a pivotal point spiritually for an awakening in America. And I'm asking you to get your church prayer group involved and go to our website, WashingtonAmanofprayer.com, and get more details there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Dan. We appreciate your work and that very, very important effort. Okay, well, first of all, hello, Grassroots. How are y'all this evening?
Hello, Dwayne.
I just drove 6 hours from San Antonio, so I still feel like I'm, hurtling down the highway 75 miles an hour, but minding the speed zones for my law enforcement friends. And I believe we left San Antonio better than we found it. The Life, Liberty, and Property Tour gave them a good dose of what's really happening in their state capital, as opposed to the fairy tales. And I was listening to Sean Hannity just a few minutes in between all the phone calls I had to return on my way back, and I nearly ran off the road. He was talking today about Texas, and Sean's all in a snit over the big lib governor of New York saying that conservatives weren't welcome in New York. Because, we're just too extreme. If you believe you should protect babies, that's extreme. If you believe that the Second Amendment really does mean that you can have a gun, that's extreme. And so, anyway, of course, there was a flurry of activity from some folks running for re-election in the state of Texas, and they were all eager to let Sean know that if he wanted to just come right on down to Texas, he would be welcome. And in this letter, that I won't tell you his name, but his initials are David Dewhurst, told Sean, well, we're just doing everything so right in Texas. I mean, we've got a $12 billion surplus. Didn't say, as they always do, neglect to tell you that they spent 25% more this past session than they did last session. And the only reason, and we don't have $12 billion in the rainy day fund now, and we certainly wouldn't have any if it weren't for the oil and gas industry. It's not like there's some magic that's being performed down there in Austin with people who really want to cut spending to save up some money. So it was pretty entertaining, and so I did what you should do to stay calm when you're driving down the highway. I turned it off, so I wouldn't hear anymore. Okay, so one of the things we need to get done tonight is to have all the candidates who are here recognize themselves. So if you'll come to the microphone here, line up as we usually do. Whoever gets to the microphone first probably needs to turn it on and let it warm up a little. And introduce yourself and hand it off to the next person. And welcome, candidates.
Here they come. So that's how Washington happened. Actually, his push card is really good. So, but that's the website, Washington Hanover. Oh, come on.
So are we having a technical difficulty? If we are, okay, let's see if it works.
I'm Carol Clark, and I'm judge of the 321st District Court, our family court. I'm running for re-election, and I am technologically challenged.
Good evening, my name is John Furlow, and I'm a candidate for County Judge of Smith County.
My name is Dwayne Stoval. I am the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, running against John Cornyn.
Good evening. I'm Josh McDaniel, I'm the North Texas Field Director for Barry Smitherman. He's the current chairman of the Railroad Commission and a candidate for Texas Attorney General.
Hello everybody, I'm Barry Barnett. I'm running for Smith County Commissioner, Precinct 2.
Evening, I'm Jason Ellis, and I'm wheeling. I'll be running again for judge of the County Court at Law right here in Smith County. Evening.
I think Jason needs a bumper sticker for that.
You know
I'm
any
Representative
doctors?
Matt Schaefer, and I'm running for re-election as your state representative for District 6 here in Smith County.
I'm Reeve Jackson, and I'm running for District Attorney here in Smith County.
A lot of good conservatives out there, but my name is Joseph Walter. I'm here on behalf of Glenn Hager. He's running for Texas Comptroller, and he's the real conservative in the race. Thank you.
This guy's cool.
Hello, I'm Tom Taylor. I'm the East Texas Field Manager for Ken Paxton, who's running for Attorney General. And thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, because I've had a couple of questions tonight about our endorsements, let me go over the details for you, the way it works. Those of you who've been around for a while already know how this works, but for those of you who are new and are wondering where we are on it, we have made 2 endorsements thus far. And you know, grassroots doesn't just say, we endorse X. We tell you why. We tell you why we endorse the individual we did and why we didn't endorse the other candidates. So I am hoping to have those released tomorrow. And as we release those, we're going to be posting those on the website. So by the time we get to early voting, the goal is to have all the one-stop voter information there that you need. Not only Grassroots America's assessment, but also the assessment by conservative organizations across the state of Texas. In particular, the ones that are on the Life, Liberty, and Property Tour with me. And they will be, as I said, they'll be very detailed. And if we say somebody voted a certain way, then there's going to be an embedded link where if you click on it, it takes it to the House Journal or takes it to the Senate Journal so that you can see how they actually voted, okay? And if a link is not working for some reason, you need to let us know, because our intention is to put all the information in front of you that we use to make our decisions. And there's quite a few rumors floating around town that we intend to nuke with our endorsements, and I'll let it go at that. Michelle Bachman will be appearing at the Green Acres Baptist Church on Saturday morning for anybody who's interested. Cool. She's going to be speaking on the subject of adoption. The details of speakers, time, and registration can be found at orphanconference.org. That is orphanconference.org. I suspect the GABC website will also have a link there, and Ann Miller brought this to our attention. There is a cost for registration, but I'll let you deal with that because that's not a grassroots event. But we did want to let you all know about it. Now, before we get into welcoming Senator Cruz's father here this evening, I'm going to allow a candidate to come up and speak to you all. And his name is Dwayne Stoval. And I'm going to tell you all what I told the group in San Antonio last night when I was asked about this race. I said, well, our board has not made a decision, but I will tell you a recommendation that I will be making to them. And that is, we are not going, I am asking the board not to consider Steve Stockman in the race. And when we make our endorsements or our recommendation, you'll know why. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that tonight, but there's plenty of information that shows that he doesn't have the temperament nor the ability to tell the truth to reporters, Breitbart reporters, not reporters from the left. And so he's shown himself not to be the character of an individual that we could support. But I can tell you that I believe the gentleman standing on the stage with me is a gentleman that our board could support. So, you know, when Grassroots America makes its decisions, we don't make decisions based on a Me Too concept. You know that we're not the first people out of the gate. I tell people all the time, Grassroots America is not we're not in competition with other groups around the state. We're very deliberate in the way we go about making our decisions, so that when we make a decision, we will have done everything we could to have made a thorough decision, because it is a very important and weighty responsibility to lend your name and your credibility to a candidate. And as I always say every election time, if you are looking for perfection this side of heaven, you will be disappointed every time. I would suggest you don't look for it. We should strive for that perfection ourselves as followers of Christ, but we absolutely should not look for it in candidates. It will not happen. But I will tell you that there are candidates, and if he's smirking, he gets a demerit. But I will tell you that it is very important to try to discern what the core values are of candidates before you hire them for a job. So you get to hear a few minutes of Mr. Dwayne Stoval.
For transparency, we all hear that word a lot, right? Transparency. Steve Stockman is my congressman, just in case y'all are wondering. I do know him. I'll leave it at that. I like Steve just fine. Before I say much of anything, I'm assuming everybody here is conservative, right?
Mostly.
Anybody sneak in here?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask a general question. If you were to elect me, and I were to go to Washington, D.C., and I were to, I don't know, consistently vote to raise the debt ceiling or grow the government or give it unconstitutional powers, would you re-elect me?
No.
Thank you. We're on the same page then. My name is Dwayne Stoval. I'm 48 years old. I've been married 22 years to my high school sweetheart. We actually graduated from West Rusk High School right over here in New London. So, yes, I probably irritated somebody up and down Highway, Broadway, sometime in the mid-'80s at one time or another, if you were here. We've got 3 children. I'm just a native Texan who's just an average dad. We live down outside of Cleveland, Texas, in Liberty County right now. I sit on the school board at Tarleton Independent School District. I'm probably as average a Texan as you're going to meet. I'm a small business owner. What I can tell you is about 7 years ago, I got into the framers and the founders and the state ratification debates and what the Constitution created, and it shocked me. Almost immediately, I learned that what the framers gifted us with and what the states agreed to is totally opposite of what we live under today. That Constitution based in federalism, where the states hold all the power except for those few enumerated delegated powers that were given to that new central government. Well, we don't have that anymore. What we have today is a national government. We are a nation with a capital N based in socialism. Simply put, I mean, let's be realistic. We all like to hold up the Constitution. We like to quote Jefferson. We like to talk about how we're a republic. And I can tell you 1,000 different ways how that's not true. Now, is it going to change? I want to be part of that change. Will it change? I don't know. but we don't give up fighting for it. And I'm just that dad who wants to be a citizen statesman. I'm personally sick and tired of groomed, well-trained, politically affiliated politicians. So if a citizen statesman you thought would be prettier than me, I'm sorry. But this is what you get. I'm unwilling to stay at home while they consistently put us in chains of debt, our children in chains of debt, and future generations of Texans in chains of debt, because that's what they're doing to us. We're being placed in servitude. Make no mistake about it. I won't go long. I don't want to take up all evening, but that's the real basic premise for me. I'll never vote to raise the debt ceiling, not one time. I'd never vote to grow that government not 1 inch. I would never vote to give it one unconstitutional power ever again. And I am the guy, and I'm absolutely certain there's another senator I know of that would get involved in this, but I'm the guy that will stand at the mountaintops and scream federalism until everybody relearns what it is. Because the fact of the matter is, we've got to start having more than just a discussion. We've got to start figuring out how to take action to divest this federal government of that unconstitutional power that's headed back to the states. So, an endorsement would be wonderful. I have been endorsed by Kaufman Tea Party, Alvin Tea Party, Pearland Tea Party. Oh, by the way, when you read in the national papers that certain candidates are Tea Party candidates, there's only one. You're looking at it. So that'll clear the air there. I've been wanting to say that for a while because I get up and I read the national papers and I go, what are they talking about? A Tea Party candidate? But I'm over here. That should change here shortly, but I'm sure glad I had the opportunity to address everybody, and I hope you understand I mean what I say. That's what I came here to say, and I hope you'll support me. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
And Dwayne, are you going to be able to stay around? Okay, so you guys can visit with Dwayne after we get done with the program. So thank you, Dwayne. And he also has a website?
Yes. I'm going to tell you just a couple of things. I've got almost 1,000 volunteers statewide. I've been at this for almost a year. You can go to TexansForStoval.com. You can join the team. You can donate. You can go to allforstoval.com and pledge your endorsement, and we'll publicly validate it. You don't have to be a celebrity or a PAC. And it's just, I'm blown away by the amount of volunteers I've got behind a citizen statesman. It's just floored me. I'm so happy to see that we've got this kind of growth in this liberty movement we have going on. So I've got a huge, huge campaign, and we're not paying for it. These are all volunteers.
Thank you so much. Well, as you all know, I was part of a team that tried to find a candidate to run against a candidate with name ID, a candidate that the Texas Liberty Movement could support. We first talked over a year ago, started talking to Congressman Gohmert about it, and Representative Gohmert's family did not think that was a wise thing for him to do, did not want him to do it. He declined. So then we went to David Barton, because of course our friend David Barton of Wall Builders has great name ID and great support across the Liberty Movement, and David also declined. So when Politico and The Hill and National Review called me and asked me about Steve Stockman, every quote that's been in those national publications, I have been very careful to say, I want you to understand, he is not the Tea Party candidate. Because you see, that's what the GOP establishment wants. They want a deeply flawed Tea Party candidate that they can run so that the establishment can say, oh, we beat the Tea Party candidate. So that is why we've been very, very clear about that. And you know, I am so tired from driving 6 hours that I almost forgot a very important young man. Austin Lux. Austin, would you come forward, please, sir? Austin is quite the patriot. And so he's got a message to share with you tonight before we recognize Pastor Cruz.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Austin.
All right, so I wrote this speech because I see something every day, that we are losing our freedoms, one by one by one, to big government. So here we go. Our founding fathers, here in this country, brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they, in their lifetimes, must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. President Ronald Reagan's words are as true and applicable today as they were then. We must preserve what is most precious to us, freedom. Freedom, which is what we'll be talking about today, is defined as a state of exemption from the power or control of another. The state of exemption from the power or control of another. Every day we are losing our freedoms, one by one, to the big government that likes to think they have control over us. Each generation has to fight for, protect, and defend the freedom we have been given. We have the privilege and the duty to stand guard at the watchtower of liberty. For as a nation, we have survived external attacks and internal attacks, but never before at the same time. However, right now, we are defending America from external enemies determined to destroy us and our way of life. And we are in a battle on our own home front. We need to fight for the hearts and minds of our own American citizens. But how do we do this? How do we know what's right? Is there a standard that we can use or that we can go by? You bet there is. Our U.S. Constitution. Yes. Our Constitution. Our Constitution is the greatest foundation of liberty and security known to man. Our Constitution promises that no free person would be enslaved by others. Our founding fathers used their knowledge and understanding of history of the governments before them to create the most powerful document of freedom and liberty the world has ever seen. Our Constitution unlocked our spirit and ingenuity. This allowed us freedom, the freedom to either prosper or to fail, depending on our own actions. The Constitution is the reason mankind as a whole was able to accomplish more in the past 200 years than we had accomplished in the 5,000 years before that. It has even been said to have caused a 5,000-year leap. How else could we have gone from horse-drawn carriages to putting a man on the moon in less than 200 years, when mankind had never before made such dramatic advances? Think about that. A man on the moon. Mind-boggling. The explanation lies in one word: freedom. When man is free, we are free to imagine, invent, and create. In doing so, our founding fathers were willing to sacrifice their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors for our freedom. Our founding fathers created something extraordinary: a republic where the people are more powerful than the government. That bears repeating. Where the people have more power than the government, even if today that is sometimes forgotten. For ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But how could these men have done this? Our founding fathers were influenced by writers, philosophers, and pastors. Cleon Skousen, founder of the National Center for Constitutional Studies, researched hundreds of the founders' writings and distilled them into several common themes or principles of liberty, which he then published in his book, The 5,000 Year League. Principle number 2 states that a free people cannot survive under our Constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. It was commonly known that self-government cannot run under a corrupt society. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin stated that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. George Washington also said that we can only survive as long as there shall remain any virtue in the body of the people. Our founders understood that the more immoral man becomes, the more government that is needed in society. The more government that is established, the less liberty we have. Once the people realize they have less liberty, the more they realize they want less government. At the heart of this vicious cycle is immorality. If we can just keep our country's morals strong, there would be no need for more intrusive government. Unfortunately, we find ourselves today in a moral crisis. In 1962, prayer was removed from our schools. In 1963, the Bible was removed from our schools. Finally, in 1980, the 10 Commandments were removed as well. Slowly, we have seen the decline this effect has had in our schools. Teen pregnancies, school shootings, and bullying have all been on the rise, just to name a few. What effect do we think the redefinition of marriage will have on our society? Hopefully, we will never find out. Remember, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As the morality of the people breaks down, society falls. Alexis de Tocqueville said that America is great because she is good. If America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. One of our founding fathers, Samuel Adams, said, "Let us remember that if we suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our liberty, we encourage it and involve others in our doom." It is a very serious consideration which should deeply impress our minds that millions yet unborn may be the miserable sharers of the events. The liberty we are losing today is not ours. It belongs to the future. It belongs to the millions yet unborn. Our founders over and over pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors to defend the liberty of those not yet born. But how are we treating those not yet born today? We don't even respect their most basic right, their right to life. On July 4th, 1806, Massachusetts Senator Daniel Webster asked the question, "Is our Constitution really worth preserving?" He answered, "Then guard it with your life." Guard it not only against open blows of violence, but also against those seeds of change. Miracles do not cluster. And what happened once in 6,000 years may never happen again. We must defend the miracle we were given. But what can we do? Remember, we have the greatest standard around, our Constitution. It can be applied to every situation, to every piece of legislation we should support or should not support. Take, for example, the HHS mandate, which threatens our religious liberty. Our religious liberty leads to a more peaceful society, therefore limiting the size and the scope of our government. We must not suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our liberty. We need to make our voices heard to everyone who will listen. Our congressmen, our neighbors, our co-workers, anybody you come in contact with. We can do things like sign the Manhattan Declaration, which affirms the sanctity of every human life, that marriage is an institution between one man and one woman, and the inherent right of religious freedom for all at manhattandeclaration.org. Especially, talk to your children. Teach them the principles that have made America great. Sir Winston Churchill said, "If you will not fight for right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." We were founded as one nation under God. It is because we are one nation under God that we have liberty and justice for all. I need your help to make us that one nation under God again. The Constitution was not created to make a central government. The Constitution was made to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Ronald Reagan said that prayer can move mountains. Well, it certainly moved the hearts and minds of Americans in their times of trial and helped them to achieve a society that, for all its imperfections, is still the envy of the world and the last best hope of mankind. Our founders felt so strongly about the principle of freedom of religion that they inscribed it in the First Amendment of our Constitution. So, my fellow Americans, we need to pray. We need to pray for our nation and pray for each and every one of us to have the strength to stand for it. We must stand for those who can't defend themselves. We must stand for good. We must stand for all that is right and true. We must stand for liberty. We must stand for the red, white, and blue. We must stand for the Constitution. Thank you so much.
That young man is proof positive that wisdom has nothing to do with numerical age. My friend, we need some